is this?
Sorry?
This is a new one.
There was crackling sound.
That's mine.
Was it?
I know, but was it this name? I thought it was
Yeah.
something else.
It's the same one.
Yeah, I think it was the same.
It was called Blue?
Yeah.
I thought it was called Lucky.
It's called Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti, yes.
Yeah.
I thought this is the word.
Sorry?
It's a new one.
Sorry, that's feedback from YouTube. Say hi.
Showing. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Again. Again.
Sorry.
Again. Yeah. Oh.
Look it up.
Hi.
How are you, Terry?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for sending that exam back.
No worries, no worries. Sorry for being a bit lazy.
Oh.
I marked it and then I thought that I'm sending usually everything at the same go. It was already 11 o'clock and I thought that, nah, just do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries.
If I have nothing to worry about, I'll always invent something.
Well, I think that you have a lot to worry about, but I'm not going to elaborate on it now. I'm just going to keep you in the dark. Exacerbate some of the worries.
Now I'm worried.
Thanks, Carson.
Yeah. No worries. So I'll start the recording and we're going to start with the Heart Sutra. So I'm going to put this. No, to the higher triple gem, that's the one time the Balaban was fighting in the massive Arjun mountains together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was his translation called profound conception. At that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara perfection of wisdom. Those five gates also is empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara. Harsh's son of the lineage of China wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom. He said that in the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, to look upon like this correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also is empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition, practice, and consciousness are empty. Likewise, all phenomena are emptiness. That characteristic and produce and cease, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extension of ignorance and so on up to including no aging and death, and no extension of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on the one and the perfection of wisdom, and without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error to reach the end point of Nibbana. All the Buddhas of the world 3 times also manifestly completely awakened to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, in line to the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassable, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as a truth, since it's not false. Therefore, wisdom is the key. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. Shariputra the Bodhisattva Mahasaya should train into fine perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasaya Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. You practice a perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. Having thus spoken, the Bodhisattva Mahasaya, Arya Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharva, was overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Sangye Chodatsaki Chonamba, Chanchu Badu Dani Chansuchi, Dagi Chuchi Vivetsana, Dola Penchi Sangye Dopa Asho, Chodatsaki Chonamba, Chanchu Badu Dani Chansuchi, Dagi Chuchi Vivetsana, Dola Penchi Sangye Dopa Asho, Chodatsaki Chonamba, Chanchu Badu Dani Chansuchi, Dagi Chuchi Vivetsana, Dola Penchi Sangye Do Pasho. Hello and welcome back. I hope that you had a good break. Did you have a good break? People here, people at home, I hope so. So, module 2 of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva of Life. Although we took only about 10 days break, and it seems in some sense that it's been a very long break. It's just 10 days in the sense that at least my mind has been already cast far from Shantideva's text, not in terms of the content, but just kind of, I don't know, it seems like we had a long break. So it's good to be back. What I thought of doing today was to continue with going through the 18 root downfalls. I think that we've covered 7 up until now, so we're still going to cover 11 more. And then I thought of, normally what we do is, or what we've done before, we looked at the 18 root downfalls. We hardly get the time to look at the 46 secondary offenses. So maybe I'll put a motion forward that we try to do it. Let's attempt to look at the 46 secondary offenses. As I said before, if you become also knowledgeable about the 46 secondary things and you try as much as you can to guard against them, then you stand a better chance to prevent the 18 root downfalls from occurring. So we'll also do that. I still have about 4 tests that I need to mark, people that have sent it through yesterday or last night and today. So although it's a bit late, I'll do it. I mean, it's good to still know, even if you haven't done it so far, don't think that it's too late. Sometimes if you think that it's too late, I better not do it, and then you tend to lag behind, then you lose momentum and then you drop the ball completely. So don't do that. Even if you're late, just send it through. So you're not off the hook. No, I'm just joking. And again, the exam is not for the sake of the exam. I think that it's a good way of trying to still keep in touch with the material or force yourself to revise it. All right, so let's start with, we'll go over the maybe 2 or 3 of the root downfalls today. I think that we have today, things are rather simple on the list. Then we're going to look at the first power, which is the power of regret. So just a second. This. All right. So we've covered the first 7. The last one was disrobing monks or nuns, or in the long form, stealing the saffron robes of the ordained and causing them to fall from ordination and so forth. We've covered that. Let's look at the next one. If you commit any of the following 5 acts, kill your mother, father, or an arhat, cause a division in the Sangha, or draw the blood of the Tathagata with a negative intent, it is a root downfall of committing an act with no intervening period. This is divided into the 5 root downfalls of the 5 acts that produce a fully ripened result after death with no intervening period. So these are what we call the 5 heinous actions, or the 5, in some other translations, they were called the 5 actions with immediate retribution. And it sounds as if there is someone that is holding a stick and whacking you, if you're doing that, but yeah, you shall not pass. But anyway, that those who say that the no intervening period or with immediate retribution means that you're not going to go through the Bado state, and in the next lifetime you go straight into the hell realms. But Lama Tsongkhapa refuted that. He objected that notion in Islam and Chamo. He said that what it means that in one's next lifetime, one will take another miserable rebirth, probably in the hells, without having any pleasant rebirth in between. So that's the immediacy in that action, and no intervening period, right? So there would be no in between pleasant rebirth. So those actions, these 5 actions are killing one's own mother and father, killing an arhat, drawing blood from a Buddha with a malicious intent, and creating a rift in the Sangha. So think about kind of drawing blood from a Buddha, from a body of Buddha with a malicious intent. On the surface, it sounds pretty straightforward, right? I mean, definitely we are not to do that, but actually, is it possible to harm a Buddha's body with malicious intent?
I thought that's why it was said drawing blood, because you can't actually kill a Buddha. It's not saying are you harming a Buddha. It's saying are you drawing blood from the body.
All right, so Venerable Chuki is saying that that's why she thought that the wording is that you draw blood from the body of Buddha. You cannot kill a Buddha, you cannot harm a Buddha, but with a malicious intent, you can draw blood from a Buddha's body. Okay. There shall be light. All right. All right. I feel totally illuminated now. Sorry? No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you.
It seems funny or not funny, but strange to me, Carson, that these heinous crimes don't really have a great effect on the ones who you're doing the crime against. Like, for example, you can't kill a Buddha, so it's not going to have any great effect on them, just on you. And an arhat, of course, is escaped samsara anyway, so they won't be reborn in samsara. And well, the one about your father and mother, I suppose, yeah, that I can see the reason for that. But is it to do with the intent that you have to cause hatred against these very holy beings? Is that the reason why there's such strong breaking of the?
I think that in general, when you look at the power of actions, there are different ways in which an action can become very heavy. It can become very heavy due to the object, due to your motivation, due to performance. Different ways that determine the weight of action. So when you look at the things that the objects that make an action very heavy, the 3 jewels, your teachers, your own mother and father, and the sick or the needy are considered to be particularly very powerful objects, right? So harming or creating a negative action in relation to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, creating a negative action in relation to your gurus, creating a negative action in relation to your parents, and your gurus and the parents, and you can say the three jewels are considered to be very important because they're objects that are very kind to us. So our parents are, kind to us like our gurus, in that sense. So it's very powerful. But also, if you harm someone that is at need, or particularly, disempowered, dispossessed, the sick, and so forth, then that also considered to be a very strong negative action. So now if I get, for example, angry at my sister and I slander my sister, or if I get angry at a homeless and slander that person, it's regarded actually more negative to slander a homeless person or someone that is dispossessed than slandering my sister, because this is someone that is even more in a pitiful state. So and vice versa, if you benefit those people, so if you make offerings to the three gems, if you make offerings to your teachers, but offerings doesn't mean necessarily that they need to be material offering. There's also an offering of practicing in a way that accords with the instructions. If you also reciprocating the kindness of your parents, if you help the one that is dispossessed, disempowered, and so forth, that's considered to be particularly a strong action. So your parents are there just because they're very special objects. They were very kind to you. So I think that is, so going back to the question with respect to a Buddha. So we cannot kill a Buddha. You might wonder, can we kill an Arhat just as well? If an Arhat has abandoned or eliminated their afflictive states of mind, they've abandoned all their negative karma, can you still kill them? No, after all, if I'm being killed, this is a result of my own negative action, right? So if someone that has abandoned karma and affliction, can that person be killed? Yeah, they have no negative karma. So now I'll bring it up just in order to think about it from different perspective, like, how then would you understand those 5 actions without a break?
But then, these holy beings, they manifest certain actions or results, like Lama Salva manifesting slow, for our benefit.
Yeah.
For our benefit, and that's what I'm wondering whether if they would die in the active more to conclude the result of our very
Killed, not that they are killed.
Yeah, that's and also like that drawing blood from Buddha. I mean, we can't recognize Buddha.
Yeah.
We don't know a Buddha, so it would be almost like saying drawing blood from anyone.
Yeah.
With malicious intent, you could be breaking that root down.
Yeah. That's why you said that, if you get angry at Bodhisattva, it's a certain person and this person is Bodhisattva, then, that's a really negative action. So we don't know who's a Bodhisattva, who is not a Bodhisattva. So definitely we need to be careful. So it goes without saying that, if you get angry at the Buddha and so forth, that would be even stronger. So I think that what you said, Dechen, is in line with what Tricky said, that we cannot, in an actual sense, we cannot harm a Buddha's body. We cannot kill a Buddha. But in relation to the actions that we take, they might manifest a certain aspect, as if we draw blood from a Buddha. And if it is done with a malicious intent, that's considered to be a very strong action.
If it said that the Buddha passed away having eaten poison food, it would appear that the Buddha was killed.
Yeah. I mean, there you would also go into, we normally speak about the 5 actions without intervening period, the 5 immediate actions in general. And they're spoken of in a way that agrees with all Buddhist schools of thought within Buddhist philosophy. But then when you start to look at the different schools of thought within Buddhist philosophy, the lower schools of thought would say that there is a state that is called nirvana with remainder. So you start off as an ordinary living being. You have this body that is subject to suffering and to pain. you become liberated and you still have this old body that came from before. So that can, yeah, in that lifetime.
Yeah, that's how you.
Yeah. So then, you know, then they would say that you have abandoned true suffering, but you still have true suffering, right? So these two do not exclude each other. You can still have true suffering, but you have abandoned it. You can still have it in a sense that you have the old body, but you have abandoned it in that you have abandoned the causes for true suffering. Karma, that you have abandoned karma and affliction. So that's one way of speaking about it. From the perspective of the Mahayana schools of thought, then they would speak about the body state starting to transform. So there is this old aggregate that is remained, but then a Buddha or Bodhisattva starts to develop a new body, a body in the nature of mind. And even more so from a tantric perspective, a body that is in nature of wind is the body that becomes enlightened, right? So when you look deeper into the different schools of thought, then you have maybe a slightly different way of explaining the 5 actions without intervening period. But anyway, just brought it up for the sake of, just for the crack. So let's let's look at the next one. Oh yeah, sorry.
In regards to the field of accumulation of the Bodhisattva's parents and the destitute, there's actually names for those fields, isn't there?
Is there a name for those objects that are very very important? Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, your gurus, your parents?
Yeah, I thought there was a field of accumulation of something. So I can't remember what it was.
When you say that, it sounds familiar, but I can't connect the name now. They're considered to be very strong objects. I'm sorry if I remember the name.
Yeah.
I'll keep it to myself. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the next one. So I think that probably we're.
What's it that you're reading from?
It's called Advice on the 3 Vows, or it is taken from Advice on the 3 Vows, and it is on the Dropbox. So it's available to everyone. And there is also a commentary by Thupten Chodron that is also on the Dropbox. So she has more discussion and more information in her commentary. So the next one is, if you hold that action and their effects are past and future rebirths and so forth, do not exist, it is a root downfall of holding wrong views. So I think that the previous one, those 5 actions, and these ones are quite straightforward, right? There's, I think, nothing that is really new to us. I think that what is slightly newer is, or not new, and good to mention here is that particularly this one, holding wrong views, is considered to be an action that doesn't require the 4 binding factors to be present for it to be a root downfall, right? So as soon as you think that there is no such thing as karma, past and future lifetimes do not exist, you have incurred a root downfall in relation to the vow if you've taken the vow, which is also a thing that in some sense you can say that we're on the safe side, we're on the safe side, is it? Yeah. Our other bases are covered. I think that, if for most of us, when we take the Bodhisattva vow, we do it on the basis of having been involved with the Buddhist tradition for a while, having looked at the different philosophical views, having given some thought to past and future lifetimes, to karma actions and the results. So I think that in some sense, we are not likely to incur this one. Of course, you might have those that at some point develop complete wrong views with respect to this tradition, completely relinquish that. It's unfortunate it happens, but I think that maybe most of us are on the safe side.
I mean, it does sort of seem that, but it's only if under investigation you take the vows, because you sort of go, well, why would you even take the vows if you have those?
Yeah.
It sounds contradictory, but
yeah.
You could be just either informed or not informed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first took them for many years, it used to worry me. it still worries me a bit, to tell you the truth, because, you know, with not knowing or naivety isn't an excuse.
Well, to hold wrong views is to, I think that, I can't remember if Geshe said that or other teachers said that, or maybe many say that. It's not simply having a doubt about, for example, past and future lifetimes and so forth. It's more like being actively adamant, resolute that they do not exist. You know, it's like, I'm also a newcomer to Buddhism. You know, although I've been involved with Buddhism, you know, for a few years, I'm still a newcomer. You know, particularly comparing to Tibetan culture that has, you know, 1400 years of passing this knowledge from one person to the next. So, you know, I'm a monk, obviously. So, still, it's not that I have removed all doubts. No, it's not something that I was born with. So I still have doubts, but it does not mean to say that I actively advocate that karma doesn't work.
If it's doubts tending towards the view, doubts tending away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, so doubt turning towards the fact, doubt turning away from the fact, they are different. Doubt that is turning away from the fact is verging a wrong view. Yeah. Cool.
And I guess giving up Bodhisattva, the other one. You know, that one is also worry. Sometimes something can happen and you can get right.
Yeah. I mean, it happened to me kind of before that I thought, you know, it's pretty hard going. You know, if I just reach shamatha and develop the view of emptiness, you know, I just get the hell out of here. You know, so it's not that kind of I actively relinquish bodhicitta, but I think that it's more kind of, I mean, it's not that I thought that, no, it's not that I thought that I'm definitely not going to do it for the sake of all sentient beings, but, you know, it's probably, I'd say, comparing between the two, holding wrong views or giving up bodhicitta, maybe giving up bodhicitta is more likely to happen than holding a wrong view. All right. Yeah. So let's just look at just one more before we go back to the material. So if you destroy a town, a city, a region, or a province, it is a root downfall of crushing towns and so forth, smashing them. This is divided into 4 root downfalls, that of smashing towns, cities, and so forth. I think that this is also less likely to happen to us, destroying a town, city, region, or a province.
Yeah, it depends on how broadly that's interpreted.
Yes.
Because I think it's possible that we have the whole discourse about, you know, what's happened to the environment and so forth. So I think it depends on, you know, not deliberately going out there bombing cities.
Yeah.
Because I always think,
Contributing to destruction.
what about towns or cities of ants?
Well, I always think of anteaters.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I had a.
Ant.
Did you have Ant City, that game when you were kids? Ant City?
Yeah, no.
Like kind of, you know, this glass structure you put inside dirt and ants and they build a nest. How do you call it in English? Ant City. I had when I was living in Tel Aviv, Ant Farm. When I was living in Tel Aviv, you know, many years ago on a rent with housemates, I had a housemate that was a total ant city. Wherever she sat, it was full of ants. Like 5 minutes after that, ants built a nest. So anyway, it's not related to this material. Yeah, Ant City. Anyway, it's not related to this material. So, and I did not destroy her. So I did not. Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder about things like that.
Yeah, I think that the meaning intended here is with respect to residents of peoples or people or humans, but
Awesome. You know, people who set fire and destroy town.
yeah,
You know, that happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Gets out of control.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that also it is very likely that it's not going to happen to us, or, you know, if it happens to, you know, if someone that has taken the Bodhisattva vow is still an arsonist, with that malicious intent and so forth, I guess that there is something pretty grim about the person.
Didn't Milarepa destroy a town with black magic or something before he became a Bodhisattva? And he went. Was it Milarepa that?
Yeah, there was a story about Milarepa kind of bringing hailstorm and other shenanigans on his aunt's house. Yeah, and the people from the locality that have dispossessed him.
But that was before he.
Yeah. Yeah. Then he developed regret and followed Mapa. Did they ever make the second part of that movie?
No, they never got the money to do that.
I was going to say maybe contributing to destroying towns could be something like if you're absolutely the opposite of an environmentalist type person and just use poisons around your house and gardens and don't care about your environment, you're affecting everybody else's environment. Because causes and conditions, maybe.
Well, I think that we, in relation to environmental issues, I think that all of us, we live at a time in which it's almost impossible not to cause damage to the environment. So we try hard. Some don't try hard at all. But I think that even if you're negligent about the environment, like for example, if you litter, if you don't care about the environment, you're negligent, but I wouldn't go as far as saying that you are incurring a rude downfall in relation to the Bodhisattva vow. It's definitely negative. I think that kind of having that sense of disrespect to others or lack of concern to others is a negative thing, because it's still, I think that when you think of non-harmfulness, and it's not just avoiding harming others, it needs to be with a sense of concern to others, which is shared between Mahayana and Hinayana. If you have that sense of disregard to others, like, you can damage the environment because you don't care about others, it doesn't really fit within your Buddhist values. So I think that there is something negative about it, definitely. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that, and thereby you would break your Bodhisattva vow.
What about if you were an American?
Definitely cannot have a Bodhisattva vow.
At the time when they bombed Japan and Hiroshima, like
If you were in the plane.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that happened not in our lifetime.
Well, I would think that a person that was
Syria, they don't just make a mess of Syria, the Americans do. That all Americans had the karma to, even we were a bit involved in that too.
Well, I don't think that I'm involved in that. We have to kind of be very clear about what we're involved with and what we're not involved with. We're not supporting war. It's like the tax that we pay, unfortunately, go for that.
Yes.
So, you can say that in some sense we have a responsibility for the policies, but we in no terms incur rude downfall with respect to those things. We don't have to take it to those things. A person that is also, we're not deciding to send airplanes. We take, we protest, we vote for, we vote for, hopefully for things that reject those things. So in some sense, you can say that consciously you're not part of it, but we live, as I said, we live in a country that forces us to pay taxes. Our taxes are funding those things. So you can say that, yeah, we have a part of it, but it's not a willing part. Now, and I also assume that people that go and bomb, Syria, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and so forth, I would assume that they don't have the Bodhisattva vow. No, I would assume that if you have the Bodhisattva vow, you would not have done it from the very get-go. All right. So it comes quite nicely together with the power of regret. Let's forget the things that we do. Let's look at this. All right, so we're looking still at chapter number 2. So we looked at the way of making offerings, homage, refuge. And now we're looking at confessing negativities by means of completing the 4 powers. Remember that that's within the 7 limbs of worship in preparing a mind for taking up the Bodhisattva vow, aspiring and engaging bodhicitta. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention from before is that, do you remember this unsurpassable offering section? We said just like Samantabhadra or just like Manjushri have done those offerings, so will we make those offerings. So in the King of Prayer, we visualize, and on each and every atom there are Buddhas surrounded by a community of Bodhisattvas, and we emanate bodies and make offerings. The whole space is filled with offerings and so forth. So it's actually, it flows quite nicely to then paying homage, you know. So you visualize all of them in front of you, and then you pay homage, you go for refuge. And then you can say that in some sense, it also links up with confessing negativity by means of completing the 4 powers. So I think that although the text and the commentary do not mention that explicitly like that, but if you think about the way that you practice the 7 limbs, you visualize all of them in front of you. So you don't have to visualize something else or to switch on to something else. Just continue with that and keep them in a space in front of you. And in their presence, you can purify your negativities. So, the 4 powers. We said that the 4 powers are the power of, here they're arranged in a certain fashion. So first of all, we begin with the power of regret. Then we'll have the power of support. Then the power of applying the antidote. And then the power of turning away from wrongdoing, so the power of restraint. So we began with the power of regret, which is the most important powers. If you have regret, all the other powers will follow through. You will then abstain from negative actions, or at least try to reduce and minimize your involvement with negative actions, so at least feel bad about it, which is a good start. Then having investigated, so then we have 4 points in the power of regret. First of all, having investigated the way in which negativity was performed, feeling regret. So requesting the attention of the objects to whom you confessed negativity. So you might remember from previously, so we call on Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth. They're already in space in front of you. If we look at the verse itself, verse 27, the complete Buddhas residing in all directions and the Bodhisattvas, those possessing great compassion, are requested with folded hands. So they're already there in front of you. So those are the object of compassion. Then there is the next point in the outline is confessing negativity is performed in the past by means of the time, cause, aspects, etc. Then confessing strong negativities that were directed at special objects. And then confessing with regret by reflecting on the undesired effect. So, in verses 28, 29, let's look at that briefly. From beginningless cyclic existence, in this life and in others, the negativity that I have done by myself or induce others to do, which I hid due to being confused by ignorance that I rejoiced in. Seeing these faults, I confess them to the protector from the depth of my heart. So what we confess here, and I think that previously Geshe-la mentioned the general confession, which is an excellent, a really nice way of, really nice thing that we can use actually when we confess negativity. So actually when you become, in your personal practice at home, once you become quite comfortable with, or quite used to different sources, you can always incorporate more things that inform, that enrich your practice, right? So you don't have to just stick with one text. If you are doing, for example, Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga every day, and you go through the 7 limbs in Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, then you can definitely add bits to that to make it just more rich, you know, and it depends on how much time you have at hand, how much time you want to meditate on that. So you confess negative actions you've done in the past that you're doing at the present, that you have enlisted others to do on your behalf, or that you've rejoiced in the creation of which. Those that were done towards the three jewels, your gurus, your mother and father. You remember, those are also verses that we've covered before. And just as we started, so this is in verse 30. Whatever harm I have inflicted on the three jewels, father, mother, and other teachers, with body, speech, and mind, due to afflictions. So here it speaks of negativities that have those strong power because of the object, right? So whatever harm I have inflicted to the three jewels, father, mother, and other teachers, with body, speech, and mind, due to the afflictions. So we perform negative actions in general, but we also violate the vows that we have, or transgress the vows that we have. So there are different reasons for doing that. Here it mentions ignorance to begin with, right? So you find in Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation of the Lamrim, an explanation of the different ways that we transgress the vows that we have. So first of all, due to not knowing. So we take a vow, like for example, the Bodhisattva vow, or for many of us, the ordination vow, without really knowing the fine prints, right? And if we don't make an effort to become informed about the fine prints, what are the different things that we need to abstain from, inevitably we are going to incur faults in relation to the vow, right? So that's the first gate, unknowingness. Another thing that is mentioned here, due to the affliction. So we're so habituated since time without beginning with afflictive states of mind. So even if we don't want to have attachment, even if we don't want to have anger, inevitably we have them. And we end up committing faults with respect to the vows that we have. So that's the second gate for incurring an infraction. Third one is due to being unconscientious. So not being careful or not being conscientious. That's another way of incurring a fault. Another one is that, sorry?
I think that's in the humbly confused sort of a person from top to top. It's unconscientious.
Yeah, I think that it's unconscientious. So the definition of unconscientiousness is, so unconscientiousness is one of the 20 secondary afflictions. So, it is, I think that it's easy to look at the opposite of that, which is being conscientious. So, being conscientious is a lack of, so it is like being enthused about virtue, or being kind of having effort in virtue with non-attachment, non-hatred, non-ignorance. Whereas unconscientiousness is the opposite of that. So not being enthused about virtue, and also still indulging in anger, attachment, ignorance, and so forth. And also the state of mind that is not careful and also foggy. And within that, there is another way, kind of another thing that sometimes is stated separately, but I think that it still can be counted under the banner of conscientiousness, which is to play down our vows, to think that I know that it's a negative thing, but it's not a big thing. No, it's like, it's not good to do it, but it's not that bad.
That's being unconscious.
Yeah, so it comes out of the banner, but sometimes it's listed down as a separate thing, kind of looking down on your vow, kind of thinking that, it's still, I shouldn't be doing that, but it's a great scheme of thing. It's not a bad fault.
So if it's an infraction, like unknowingness,
Mm.
I've made that mistake too many times. Like, I actually thought the stuff that we say 3 times in the morning, 3 times at night was part of another commentary that I do. And I thought, oh, that's okay, that sounds about the same. I'm covered. And then I heard recently, no, that's not quite correct. You're actually supposed to do the other thing. So I say, so I'm sort of going, so if that's an infraction, I haven't actually broken the vow at the root, have I? So when I say it again, with my regret, I've still got the
Well, I assume that you're referring to the 6-session Guru Yoga.
Yeah, I thought in those last 2 verses that you do 3 times, that's the covering.
Well, in the 6-session Guru Yoga, we take the Bodhisattva vow in the morning. If you do it in the morning and in the evening, then you take the Bodhisattva vow at each time that you are practicing it. But so in that sense, you could say that even if you have damaged the vow during the day, you're taking it again. However, it does not mean to say that it still doesn't matter, because it is said that although you can purify your Bodhisattva vow, it still postpones the attainment of the grounds. So in that sense, you're still being kept far from spiritual progress if you don't make an effort. Yeah, so I can take the Bodhisattva vow every day, but if I don't make an effort to at least learn what I need to be doing, and I keep on repeating those mistakes again and again, how will I progress actually? So in that sense, it still postpones the attainment of the grounds. So it's good to do it. Definitely, it's good to do it, but it's good to do it also in finding out what we need to do, becoming more informed and doing it better and better, which is the purpose of doing the 6-session Guru Yoga every day. So you do it every day so that you remind yourself what are the things that you need to do, and you try to do them better.
I'm so really confused now. So does that mean that the Bodhisattva vow is within the 6 sessions?
Yeah, yeah.
And on that first page?
Yes.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, then I didn't.
Yeah, the Buddha's Bodhisattva as a guru, please pay attention to me. Just all the Buddhas that have passed to develop the thought of enlightenment, true bodhicitta. So this section is you take the engaging vow. Yeah.
Carson, I do the abbreviated version of the Guru Yoga morning and night, but I also each time I do the Bodhisattva recitations. There's 2 of them each, and I do those 3 times each morning and night. Is that still okay, do you think, or do you think I should try and do I just don't seem to have time to do the whole big long one.
I think that with taking a vow, you need to have the intention to take a vow. Without the thought, I will take a vow, and at the end, the thought, I have obtained a vow, you're not going to get the vow. So let's say that you don't have the time to do the extensive version of the 6-session Guru Yoga. So there's the abridged version, the short version with, 9 or 10 verses. I can't remember how many verses. So there is verse number 3, I think. I have it here. Let's see. Sorry? 405. So 405. So Namalam, sorry. So land, body, and wealth, and all virtues collected for the sake of all mothers, I gladly release, and I vow to protect all the vows I have taken or transgress, even one for the sake of my life. So here, I think that if you're really experienced, in a sense, so if you're thoroughly familiar with the practice, you can pause here and add to that also the verse of taking upon yourself the vow again. Can be actually done in a really short way, or you can visualize that. You can visualize maybe Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the space in front of you, and you visualize that you take the vow from them. This is my own view, but I'm not sure that actually I'm an authoritative source for that. Maybe with the short version, it's better to ask also a more qualified Lama to ask how you use that for the sake of taking upon yourself again the Bodhisattva vow. If it is possible, I would say that when you say, and I vow to protect all the vows I have taken, nor transgress even one for the sake of my life, that you would try to visualize Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the space in front of you, and you think that you're repeating after them the taking of the vow, and at the end you think, I have obtained the vow. Maybe we can ask Geshe Tsultrim tomorrow.
Well, I've got, in this one, I don't know if you can see it if I hold it up. Can you see that? No, probably not.
Just a second.
That's the one. There's 2 of them. There's that one,
oh, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
That's the care of the Dharma maturity.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. You kind of lost the voice. You muted.
Oh, hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Loud
Yeah.
and clear.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Well, I did those two, which came with all the Bodhisattva vows. I do those 3 times morning, 3 times night. After I've done the abbreviated Guru Yoga 3 times morning, 3 times night. So I'm just wondering whether you really think I should ask Geshe Saltram whether that's sufficient or not.
What are the other 3 verses? Is it like a shorter version of
What
it?
he's saying is he does it's the 2, like we do page 112. Page 112.
Page 112.
Which is when we would do the reviewing of Bodhisattva vows.
All right, 112.
The Bodhisattva vows.
I take refuge in the 3 rare sublime ones and confess all my negative actions individually.
This is what he's referring to. That's
Okay. I think that it should be all right, because His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave the Bodhisattva vow last week based on this section. So I think that, Graham, it's okay. No, we have a source for that. His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, I was watching that
cannot get a
session
better
with
source.
His Holiness.
Yeah. All right. So I think that it's okay, Graham.
I think the thing to remember though is that the long 6 session has all of the land in it. You know, like it only takes like 20 minutes to do as opposed to 8 minutes. And I mean, over the years, it has just really enhanced my understanding and my road within Buddhism, because that 6th session just has everything. It has all of the language in it. It's amazing.
And there's good commentary that Geshe Sharing gave on that, and I think that there are recordings of that commentary. I think that it's a really, really nice. Maybe even recordings of Geshe Jamin giving the commentary to the 6th session Guru Yoga, so it becomes a complete practice.
Not to be forgotten.
Hallelujah, sister. All right. So, yeah.
Sorry to add to that, because I'm not up to doing that completely,
Hmm.
I find it helpful when I came to the teaching, which is ultra, and he's saying that I'm paraphrasing here, whatever, but basically I do the short at that,
Yeah.
pages, but I also do part of the long, instead of doing it all the different times.
Yeah.
I just do the minimum, like you said, there's different sections that you can do out of it.
Yeah.
So I do like, the 2 verses on the first page I repeat 3 times, or repeat 3 times, and the others I do once.
All right.
So, at least I thought I'm doing some imprints. If I'm in a rush day, I said, you can miss some sections. So, again, trust my words on this. Trust the boss.
I think that we do what we can do.
Yeah.
But also, I think that we do what we can do, but it's good also to think that in the future, I'll make it better. I'll build on that, rather than think that how can I get by in doing the minimum just to, and sometimes we have to do it. If you don't have time, then you do the bare minimum. But the idea is that you think that in the future, I want to do better. In order to do better, it's best to do the full version. And once you do the full version quite a few times and you're very familiar with that, when you go back to the short version, actually it becomes richer. And yeah. So, all right. So we spoke about Kathy. I have the 6th session Guru Yoga teachings with Geshe Sharing audio and transcripts. Can upload it if people really want it. Tell them to email Kathy. So if you really want those teachings, email Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. You're a star. So
She's a star.
it's okay. All right. So we spoke about confessing, having investigated the way in which negativity was performed, feeling regret. We spoke about verses 28, 29, 30. Verse 31 is confessing with regret by reflecting on the undesired effects. The undesired effects are kind of hidden within the wording of the verse. So it says, I, this sinner, afflicted with various faults of different negativities, whatever frightful negativities I created, confess to those that guide me. So by thinking of the result, confessing negativities by thinking of the undesirable results is indicated by frightful. Whatever frightful negativities, which means that whatever frightful results, frightful, yeah, shocking, aghast, yeah, alas. So, this frightful refers to the fruitional effects of those actions, which brings me to just wanting to mention that at the beginning of the section of confession, where's the beginning? Here. So we have the general presentation that is found in Getza Dhamma commentary. And he mentions, this is in page 15. In relation to the first power, he says, this is generating many regrets for the non-virtuous karma created. To generate this, one needs to meditate well on the way the three results are generated from non-virtuous karma, right? So the three results, meaning not only fruitional result, which means the type of rebirth that you will take, but also environmental result, and also results that are similar to the causes in terms of your experience, but also in terms of your behavior, the type of habits that you develop when you perform negative actions. So when you think of all those scary results, the type of rebirth that you take, how we condition a mind to performing those actions again and again in the future, the result that we get will be similar to the causes that we create. And also the environment will be affected by the actions that we take. Through that, then you develop a sense of regret for the frightful effect, for the terrifying effect. All right. So then we have cultivating regret by fearing the prospect of dying while still in possession of the negativity and going for refuge. Cultivating regret by reflecting extensively on the way one has performed pointless negativities and reflecting on the way in which negativities bring about fear. So Geshe-la covered all that section in today's session. I think that most parts were quite straightforward. I think that one thing that came out of this section is the meditation on death and impermanence. And Geshe-la just mentioned it in brief. He said the nine, the three causes or the three roots and the 9 reasons, which are organized in a different way here in Shantideva stakes. When you look at Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim, they're given in a really kind of straightforward, clear fashion. So I just wanted to briefly go through that. You went through that briefly in the discussion. Not in, okay, cool. So the 3 roots, anyone can quickly state what the 3 roots are? Death is certain, time of death is uncertain. At the time of death or the time of death, nothing will be of help apart from the Dhamma. So these are the 3 roots. Now, each one of the 3 points has 3 sub-points or reasons that you can think of. So first of all, with respect to death is certain. The first point is that the Lord of death will definitely come and therefore cannot be avoided. So Geshe-la referred to that, right? So it is certain that we will die. There is no one that can avoid death. And we can see that in those around us, other living beings, and we ourselves, no one can escape death. So the Lord of death will definitely come and cannot be avoided. Second one is that the lifespan continuously or constantly diminishes and it cannot be extended. right? So time is running out. You cannot run away from death. That's the second point. And the third point, sorry?
Buddha
Yeah.
extend his life a few months or something so he could return to the place of his death or something, but he just didn't he extend it by, I don't know, I read that in some story.
Who? Buddha. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, well, Buddha was, I guess, pretty special.
He only extended it.
Yeah, Buddha the extender. So, you know, and the third point that you think of with respect to the certainty of death is that, you know, death is certain, and even while we're alive, there's so little time to practice the Dhamma. You know, so I think that for many of us that I think that are quite, you know, either middle-aged people or already elderly people, you know, the community of non-Tibetan Buddhists, or those that get involved with Buddhism, the majority of us are not young. You know, it's like, you know, I turned 49 a year ago. No, actually, no, it's quite funny because, you know, whenever I say that, you know, I'm 49, I feel old, you know, people say that, oh, you know, you're still young, I'm already 60. But yeah, but, you know, when you think about how much time I still have, you know, for the practice of Dhamma, you know, at best, you know, if I think of good years, you know, maybe 20 years, 25 years, no. No, well, I speak about, no, I don't speak about death. I speak about good quality Dhamma practice. All right. Well,
You've got to start sometime.
I mean, we can make jokes about it, but I mean, honestly speaking, when you're 70, 75, if you think of going on a 3-year retreat or going on a retreat for the rest of your life, doing 3 or 4 hours of meditation every day in which your mind is clear, your body is amenable to meditation. I mean, yeah, kind of hopefully we will live long, but I mean, we do have to think about the older we get, the harder it becomes. The mind becomes more rigid. We're more kind of, I think, settled into our routine. I see it now, how I find it difficult to change my routine and to be flexible, yeah, about new ways, you know. So how many good years have we got? You know, not a lot.
You know how it says your life can't be extended. It's not saying that the period of time is a definite period of time, like if the Buddha can see your life is dying, blah, blah, blah. Isn't that all due causes and conditions? Because like if you have a lifestyle and meditate and all this sort of thing, you're going to live longer, I would imagine, than smoking, you know.
Well, no, we also have we have practices that overcome hindrances for untimely death and so forth, or, you know, purification practices that might you know, give you some time. But the thing is that once we were born as, for example, as human beings, you know, we had projecting karma that projected a rebirth of a human being. It is definite that we cannot extend it beyond, let's say, 100 years or 120 years and so forth. You know, even if you get to live for, let's say you have a healthy lifestyle, you do well, you know, we cannot extend it limitlessly. And still, you know, even if we maintain a good lifestyle, still, you can say that the karma that we were born with and also completing karma plays a role in when we're going to face up death. So we can change some of the conditions, but I think that the basis, we had a projecting karma to be born as human. We have a lifespan of a human. It cannot be extended for more than, you know, a few days or a couple of years or whatever.
So one of the advantages, Carson, of getting old, though, is if you don't have to work. See, I'm retired, so my time is my own. And if you've got enough money that you don't have to worry too much, you can spend a lot of time doing Dharma reading and going to courses and things like that. So even though you may not have as many years left, you can pack a lot more, hopefully, into those years. So it's not all downhill, you know, like towards the grave. You know, I think you can still get a lot more done, because if you're going to work and you've got a wife and family and all this sort of thing that a lot of people do, they find it very difficult to do their practices every day and to extend it and so on. Admittedly, you don't have any excuses when you're getting older and you've retired. You know, you really think you should get stuck into it, but it's not. I think it's not as bad as maybe what you're making out. Well, I'm doing a lot more now than I did, say, 10 years ago. You know, put it that way.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. It's at least I think of when I look at my mind now, and I think of where I want my mind to be, or what I want to do with my mind, and how the older I get, the harder it becomes. Yeah, you know, at some point, hopefully I will have more time. You know, it's funny. I live at a Buddhist center. You know, I'm a monk. We have a really supportive study program here. I can spend my morning doing my meditation, which is, you know, very cushy place comparing to someone that has to, you know, go to work, take care of the family and so forth. So definitely I have kind of my position is better, at least in my point of view, when I compare it to others. But still, I think that the more time passes, the more difficult it becomes physically and mentally to sustain this routine. You know, if I think of my current routine, I don't think that I'd be able to sustain a routine like that when I'm 70. Anyway, but for those of you who reach the age of 70, I don't want to depress you. Sorry.
Some of us are getting pretty close, Carson, put it that way.
Yeah, thumbs up. It's good to be 70. All right, let's
there yet, but not too far away.
All right. All right, sorry for that. I feel like a bastard now. Gone gondo pe washo, come shinkande, tendande wa manujo, shenrezi mountains, shape site bado tenjoshi, Janshin Jango Yahweh, Zenzi Jompe Chosun Go Wele Matu Pada So Kondo Sha Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carson.
Thank you. No, and you know, in no way, I wanted to disparage people or to look down on people that are aging. You know, it's just kind of, I think that, you know, if you reach the age of 70 or 80 and you still kind of, you know, you feel quite enthused and energetic, of course, it's wonderful. But it's not that it happens like that to everyone. You know, it does, I think, become harder as you get old. You know, so older and older. So. No. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, Jason.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Emma Carson. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.